The signal that changed everything. Dr. Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes and reached for her fifth cup of coffee that night. The Kepler Deep Space Observatory hummed quietly around her, its massive radio telescopes scanning the cosmos for any sign of intelligent life. For 3 years, she had been analyzing signals from the depths of space, hoping to find proof that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. Most nights brought nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional pulsar. Tonight felt different. A strange pattern had been flickering across her monitors for the past hour, too regular to be natural, too complex to be a simple astronomical phenomenon. Computer, analyze signal pattern designation ESO 7741. She commanded, leaning forward in her chair. The advanced AI system processed the data within seconds. Pattern shows characteristics consistent with artificial origin. The computer replied in its calm, mechanical voice. Signal contains mathematical sequences and appears to include linguistic elements. Sarah's heart began to race. This could be it. The discovery that would change everything. She quickly ran additional scans to confirm the signal's authenticity, checking for equipment malfunctions or interference from Earth-based sources. Everything checked out. The signal was real, it was artificial, and it was coming from a star system 47 light-years away. Dr. Rodriguez, please come to Lab 7 immediately, she called over the intercom. Within minutes, her colleague and friend Dr. Miguel Rodriguez burst through the lab doors, still in his pajamas. "Sarah, what's so urgent that you're calling me at 2 in the morning?" he asked, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the complex waveforms dancing across her screen. "It's a signal from the Ta-CD system, artificial origin, containing what appears to be mathematical and linguistic patterns." Miguel's eyes widened as he studied the data. "This is incredible. Have you tried to decode any of it? I've been working on it for hours. Look at this section here." Sarah highlighted a portion of the signal. "These patterns repeat every few minutes, but with slight variations. It's almost like someone is trying to teach us their language." Over the next 6 hours, more staff arrived at the observatory. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the facilities director, immediately contacted the United Nations Space Command. Within 12 hours, the world's leading linguists, mathematicians, and xenobiologists were analyzing the signal. The breakthrough came on the 3rd day. Dr. James Wright, a specialist in ancient languages, noticed something remarkable about the signal structure. "It's not just communication," he announced to the packed conference room. "It's a distress call. The repeated patterns, the increasing urgency in the transmission strength, the mathematical sequences that seem to indicate coordinates and time-sensitive information." Dr. Vasquez stood up, her face serious. "Are you saying that someone out there is asking for help?" "Not just someone," Dr. Wright replied, his voice trembling with excitement and fear. "An entire civilization. The signal contains references to population numbers in the millions, infrastructure specifications, and what appears to be descriptions of some kind of threat." News of the discovery spread across Earth like wildfire. The first confirmed contact with an alien civilization, and they were asking for help. Religious leaders, politicians, and scientists debated the implications. Some called it humanity's greatest moment. Others warned of potential dangers. The United Nations convened an emergency session. After days of heated debate, they reached a unanimous decision. Humanity would respond to the call for help. Operation Sturridge was born within a week. The largest space mission in human history would be launched, combining resources from every major spacefaring nation. Captain Marcus Rivera, a veteran of the Mars colonies and the asteroid mining operations, was chosen to lead the mission. "I know this is unprecedented," Captain Rivera addressed his crew of 200 specialists aboard the UES Prometheus. "We're about to make first contact with an alien species, and we're doing it while they're in crisis. Stay alert, stay professional, and remember that we represent all of humanity." The Prometheus was joined by 5 other ships: the UES Discovery, UES Unity, UES Hope, UES Courage, and the massive supply vessel UES Provider. Together, they formed humanity's first interstellar rescue fleet. The journey to Ta City would take 18 months, even with the new fusion drives. During the long voyage, the crew continued to analyze the alien signals, which were growing stronger and more desperate as they traveled closer to the source. Commander Elena Vasquez, the mission's chief strategist, spent countless hours studying the decoded messages. "They call themselves the Zephyrians," she reported during a briefing. "They're a peaceful species focused on art, science, and philosophy. But something called the Void Syndicate has been systematically destroying worlds in their region of space." "What do we know about this Void Syndicate?" asked Dr. Chen, who had joined the mission as the chief communications officer. "Not much," Vasquez admitted. "The Zephyrians describe them as a coalition of aggressive species that consume resources and destroy civilizations. They seem to move from system to system, taking everything of value and leaving dead worlds behind." As they approached the Ta City system, the crew prepared for what they might find. The signals had stopped transmitting 3 days earlier, which could mean many things, none of them good. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships in the system," reported Lieutenant Park from the sensor station. "Configuration unknown, but they're massive. Much larger than our vessels." Captain Rivera stood on the bridge, studying the tactical display. 7 enormous ships hung in space near Ta City's 4th planet, their sleek, organic-looking hulls gleaming in the starlight. They were beautiful in an alien way, but also clearly advanced far beyond human technology. "Open communication channels," Rivera ordered. "Let them know we're here to help." The response came within minutes, but it wasn't what anyone expected. "Unknown vessels, you have entered Zephyrian space without authorization," came the translated voice through their communication system. "State your identity and purpose immediately." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "This is the United Earth ship Prometheus. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance against the Void Syndicate." There was a long pause before the reply came, and when it did, confusion was evident in the alien voice. "We sent no distress signal to your species. We do not know of any humans or Earth. How did you intercept our communications to the Galactic Council?" The truth hit the human crew like a physical blow. The signal they had intercepted, the call for help that had motivated humanity's greatest adventure, had never been intended for them. The Zephyrians had been calling for help from someone else entirely, and humans had simply stumbled across the transmission. Captain Rivera felt the weight of the mistake, but he also felt something else. Determination. "Zeph Prime," he said, using the title the aliens had given for their leader. "We may have intercepted your call by accident, but we're here now. We've traveled 47 light years to help, and we're not leaving while you're in danger." "You do not understand the magnitude of the threat," replied Zeph Prime Kaya, her voice carrying a mixture of gratitude and concern. "The Void Syndicate commands hundreds of ships and has destroyed dozens of worlds. Your small fleet, however brave, cannot stand against them." "Then let us learn," Rivera said firmly. "Share your knowledge with us. Together, maybe we can find a way to stop them." Before the Zephyrian leader could respond, alarms began blaring on both human and alien ships. New contacts were appearing on the sensors, dozens of them, emerging from the outer edges of the star system. "Captain," Lieutenant Park's voice was tight with fear. "Massive fleet approaching. Configuration matches the descriptions of Void Syndicate vessels. The Syndicate had arrived, and they had brought an Armada." Zeph Prime Kaya's voice crackled over the communication channel, now filled with urgency. "Human fleet, you must flee immediately. The Syndicate will not distinguish between Zephyrian and human ships. They destroy all who oppose them." Captain Rivera looked at his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. "Zeph Prime, we didn't come this far to run at the first sign of danger. If you'll have us, we'll fight alongside you." "Your courage honors you," Kaya replied, "but you do not know what you face." As the dark shapes of the Void Syndicate fleet grew larger on the tactical display, humanity was about to discover just how right she was. The accidental heroes were about to face their first real test, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. When enemies become friends, the Void Syndicate fleet emerged from the darkness of space like a plague of metallic locusts. Admiral Thorne's flagship, the Decimator, led the formation of 60 warships, each one bristling with weapons designed to crack planets and vaporize entire fleets. "Admiral, we're detecting unknown vessels in the system," reported the Syndicate's chief scanner. "Configuration doesn't match any known Galactic Council designs." Admiral Thorne, a towering figure with cybernetic implants covering half his face, studied the tactical display with cold interest. The Syndicate had conquered 47 systems by finding weaknesses and exploiting them ruthlessly. "Scan them thoroughly," he commanded. "Any ship that stands with the Zephyrians dies with them." Meanwhile, aboard the UES Prometheus, Captain Rivera was quickly learning just how outmatched humanity's rescue fleet truly was. The smallest Syndicate vessel was twice the size of his flagship, and their energy readings suggested weapons far beyond human technology. "Captain, the Zephyrian ships are moving to defensive positions around their home world," reported Commander Vasquez. "They're requesting that we take position in their rear guard." Rivera felt a moment of frustration. After traveling across interstellar space to help, they were being asked to hide behind the very people they had come to rescue. But he was also a professional, and he understood tactical reality. "Zeph Prime Kaya, this is Captain Rivera. We appreciate your protection, but our ships aren't built for defensive operations. We're explorers and scientists, not warriors." The Zephyrian leader's response carried a note of surprise. "You came to fight a war with exploration vessels." "We came to help however we could," Rivera replied honestly. "We didn't know we'd be facing a full military fleet." Dr. Chen, monitoring the communications, picked up something interesting in the background chatter between Zephyrian ships. "Captain, I'm detecting confusion in their tactical communications. They keep referring to impossible readings from our ships." Before Rivera could ask for clarification, the Syndicate fleet opened fire. Beams of coherent energy lanced across space, striking the outer Zephyrian vessels. The elegant alien ships, designed for science and art, rather than war, began to crumble under the assault. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Rivera shouted. The human fleet scattered, their smaller size and more maneuverable designs allowing them to dodge the initial barrage. Tawny Park, a young engineer aboard the UES Discovery, was monitoring the battle from his station when he noticed something crucial. "Commander Park to Prometheus. The Syndicate ships are focusing their fire based on energy signatures. They're targeting the largest power sources first." "Meaning what exactly?" Rivera asked. "Meaning our fusion drives read as much smaller threats than the Zephyrian crystal cores. They think we're support vessels or cargo ships." Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with understanding. "Captain, they're ignoring us because they don't think we're dangerous." Rivera felt a plan forming in his mind. It was risky, possibly suicidal, but it might be their only chance. "Commander Vasquez, what do we know about Syndicate ship design from the Zephyrian data?" "Their vessels are heavily armored, but designed for direct assault," she replied quickly. "Minimal point defense systems because they rely on overwhelming firepower." "Tommy, how close can our ships get before they start taking us seriously?" The young engineer's voice was excited. "Based on their targeting priorities, we could probably get within a few thousand kilometers before they classify us as threats." Captain Rivera opened a channel to all human ships. "All vessels, this is Prometheus Actual. We're going to try something that's either brilliant or completely insane, possibly both." The plan was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. The human ships would use their perceived weakness as camouflage, getting close enough to the Syndicate fleet to target their vulnerable spots with precision strikes. "Zeph Prime Kaya, we need detailed information about Syndicate ship weak points," Rivera requested. Human captain, your vessels cannot possibly penetrate their armor. Kaya replied. Her voice strained as another Zephyrian ship exploded in the distance. We're not going to try to penetrate their armor, Rivera said. We're going to target their sensors and communications arrays, blind them, and cut off their coordination. There was a pause before Kaya responded. That might actually work. Transmitting technical data now. The 6 human ships reformed into a tight formation, approaching the Syndicate fleet at what appeared to be a cautious distance. To the Syndicate sensors, they looked like non-combatant vessels trying to flee the battle. Admiral, the unknown ships are maintaining distance, reported the Syndicate scanner officer. Energy signatures suggest civilian or support vessels. Admiral Thorne barely glanced at the display. Ignore them. Focus on the Zephyrian battle cruisers. That dismissal was exactly what Rivera had been hoping for. All ships execute Ghost Protocol. Target their sensor arrays and communication relays. Fire on my mark. The human fleet split apart, each ship targeting a different Syndicate vessel. Their weapons, designed for asteroid mining and construction work, weren't powerful enough to damage the alien armor, but they were precise enough to target the delicate sensor equipment that extended from each ship's hull. Mark. 6 ships fired simultaneously. Industrial lasers and plasma cutters, never intended for combat, sliced through sensor arrays and communication dishes with surgical precision. Within seconds, half the Syndicate fleet was effectively blind and deaf. What just happened? Admiral Thorne roared as his tactical display went dark. Report. But there was no one left to report to him. The human attack had severed the communication links between Syndicate ships, turning their coordinated fleet into dozens of isolated vessels. Zeph Prime Kaya seized the opportunity immediately. All Zephyrian vessels target the blinded ships. They cannot coordinate their defenses. The battle turned in an instant. Syndicate ships, used to overwhelming their enemies with superior numbers and firepower, found themselves fighting individual duels against desperate defenders who now had hope. Tommy Park, monitoring the battle from the UES Discovery, noticed something else. Captain Rivera, the Syndicate ships are trying to reestablish communications using backup systems. We could target those too, but we'd have to get much closer. How much closer? Rivera asked. Close enough that they'll definitely start shooting at us. Dr. Chen looked up from her console. Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from other Syndicate fleets. This isn't their only attack force. They have reinforcements coming. Rivera made a decision that would define the rest of the battle. All ships, prepare for close engagement. We're going to finish what we started. The human fleet dove toward the heart of the Syndicate formation, their smaller ships weaving between the massive alien vessels like insects around giants. Syndicate weapons, designed for long-range combat, struggled to track the fast-moving human ships. But the closer they got, the more dangerous it became. The UES Courage took a direct hit from a Syndicate beam weapon, her hull cracking open like an egg. The UES Unity lost her port engine to a missile strike, but kept fighting. Tommy, now would be a good time for another brilliant idea, Rivera called out as enemy fire erupted around the Prometheus. Captain, what if we didn't just target their backup communications? What if we could overload their main power systems? Dr. Chen's fingers flew over her console. The Zephyrian data shows their power cores are heavily shielded, but the distribution networks are more vulnerable. We'd have to hit them all simultaneously, Vasquez added. If even one core remains active, they could coordinate a counterattack. Rivera looked around the bridge at his crew. They were exhausted, scared, but determined. They had come to help strangers and found themselves in the middle of a war. But they were still here, still fighting. All ships, final approach. Target the power distribution nodes. We only get one shot at this. The remaining human ships dove toward their targets, enemy fire growing heavier with each passing second. The UES Hope exploded in a ball of flame, taking the Syndicate destroyer with her as her fusion core overloaded. Now, Rivera shouted. Every human weapon fired at once, targeting the vulnerable power networks that fed energy throughout the Syndicate vessels. One by one, the enemy ships went dark, their weapons falling silent, their engines dying. Admiral Thorne watched in disbelief as his mighty fleet was systematically disabled by a handful of ships he had dismissed as irrelevant. "What species are they?" he demanded. His remaining scanner officer checked the readings one more time. "Unknown, Admiral. They call themselves humans." The word would spread throughout Syndicate space in the coming months. Humans, the species that had appeared from nowhere and turned the tide of an unwinnable battle. But for now, the Battle of Ta Siti was over. The Void Syndicate fleet retreated, leaving behind disabled vessels and a reputation for invincibility that would never fully recover. Zeph Prime Kaya's voice came over the communication channel, filled with gratitude and amazement. "Human Captain Rivera, your species has given us something we thought was lost forever. Hope." Rivera looked out at the stars, thinking about the long journey home and the messages they would carry back to Earth. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they had made their first impression as a species willing to help strangers in need. "Zeph Prime, we may have intercepted your signal by accident, but I think the universe has a way of putting the right people in the right place at the right time." Dr. Chen smiled as she began composing the message that would change Earth forever. The accidental heroes had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, and the galaxy would never be the same. The age of human expansion into the stars had begun, not with conquest or colonization, but with a simple desire to help others. And sometimes, that made all the difference.